I ended up bruising my sciatic nerve, so I couldn't walk or feel my leg for about 3 months. So they didn't know when it was going to come back. It was kind of just like when the swelling goes away, and when it's not bruised, the feeling will come back. And so every day waking up, like hopefully today's the day it comes back, is kind of scary.
What's going on today? I'm the host, Zach Schumaker, and joining me today is one-time Mountain West Player of the Week, two-time All-Mountain West honorable mention, one-time All-Mountain West third-team selection, and a member of the All-Tournament team in the 2021 Diamond Head Classic. And he's on his way to becoming one of the top players in Wyoming history. Hunter Maldonado. Appreciate you coming on today, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Pretty good. You're having your career best year right now. You're averaging over 17 a game. You're averaging over 5 rebounds, over about 6 assists per game, over a steal per game. And when a lot of people hear your name, and not too many people seem to recognize it yet. It's one of the most underrated guards in the country, in my opinion, at least. So, you got to walk us through that a little bit. Like, how do you take that in, and just how do you kind of accept being one of the more underrated players in the country?
I think every year, even from high school, kind of just being underrated was a thing. So for me, it's not only started here, but earlier. And so I know just to put my head down and work, and good things will come. Obviously, the work doesn't lie, and it's kind of the mindset I take into it.
And like you said, you haven't always had a lot of name recognition. We go back to high school, like you said, you didn't have too many offers coming out of there. You were unranked on just about every single site. How have you kind of embraced that role, like being the underdog mentality, knowing that not a lot of people recognize me, I don't get the respect that I probably deserve? How have you taken that in over life, and just how does that kind of motivate you and help propel you to where you're at today?
I think it's just the same mentality every single day, is just go in, work as hard as you can, and good things will happen. Obviously, I haven't had all the hype and nothing about that in high school or in college. But I know if I continue to work, I'll put myself in good position, put my team in good positions. And at the end of the day, it comes down to just executing the work I do every single day.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to get into your story a little bit more, and also going to talk about this season and a lot more Wyoming stuff. But I want people to get to know the journey that you've taken to get to this point. So we head all the way back, though. You originally are from Colorado. So what was it like growing up out there?
Uh, I was born and raised in Colorado Springs.
Mm-hmm.
Had the same house since I've been growing up.
Mm-hmm.
At least since I can remember. We rented a house for a little bit, but once I did move, all my elementary, middle school, high school, all within probably a mile of each other. So same people going elementary, middle school, high school, know them basically the whole time you grow up. And I started basketball probably about third grade. But it was definitely Colorado Springs was definitely a place a lot more livelier than Laramie in terms of stuff to do. Laramie's a college town, but it's also why I came here and get a focus on basketball. So
Mm-hmm. So how did the ball first get put in your hands? Like, do you remember, was it a certain day? Was it just you kind of joined a group, or how did the ball first get put in your hand?
my dad played basketball, so I started pretty young, but he ended up co- co-coaching with one of my best friends since kindergarten's dad when I was in third grade, and kind of just got rolling from there. And then as I grew up, joined a couple of AAU teams, um, and then got to high school and got to here.
I know also you've played other sports as well throughout your life. I know in high school you also played track and field, you did long jumps, soccer as well. Was that always like your story? Were you always kind of saying, okay, I want to play sports, I want to play all these different sports, or was it more I want to play basketball, but these are the sports more enjoyable for me?
I actually grew up playing football,
Mhm.
and then basketball was kind of that second sport I played, and I was actually a lot better at football going into high school than I was basketball. But football just kind of wasn't for me. It wasn't as fun. I didn't enjoy it as much, and I ended up quitting football after my freshman year of high school. But I also knew I had to stay in shape, and I liked competing. Just going out there and trying to do my best and beat somebody was pretty fun for me and still is. So that's when track came into play, and then uh, I did that for 3 years, and then soccer was just my last year. My best friend asked me to come out, and I was like, I'll give it a whirl, and actually did pretty good. So
Now, for you, you also are a unique player because nowadays there are a lot more of the quote unquote big guards that we see, like it's becoming a more popular trend. But anyone that's pretty much in college right now, NBA players as well, like you guys were the ones that kind of brought this new generation upon us now. Like it wasn't a common thing with you growing up. Like there weren't always guys that were 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", like in your height range, playing point guard and shooting guard. So how did that happen? Because that's not have your ball handling skills, your facilitating skills. Like that's not something that just comes with a lot of guys unless you focus on that. So what caused you to lock in and become a guard, even though you were bigger as a guard as a basketball player?
I think it started when I was younger. I was a little smaller. People were growing a little faster than me, and I started out as a guard. And then I started to grow. And towards middle school, I actually moved to a post player. I was pretty much the center for my middle school team. And I learned all those post moves. And while people were still growing and I wasn't, and then once I got to high school, I started to grow pretty consistently again. But I still had both the post and the guard moves. And my high school head coach was actually really big on not only shooting and all that kind of stuff a guard would do, but post moves and making sure I get my touches down there. And as you can see, it's paid off pretty well so far.
At what point would you say it kind of clicked for you and started saying, I want basketball to be the sport I pursue? Everything I really want now is in this sport. When did that kind of happen for you?
Probably in between I knew in like third, fourth grade, always wanted to be an NBA player and go and live the dream. And then I think towards probably the end of my sophomore year, I really realized I could probably make this happen and make it come true. With the amount of work that I put in, it was kind of all up to me. And I think after that sophomore year is kind of when it clicked and when I was like, I can make this happen, and been given it all I ever had since.
We mentioned earlier that you weren't having all the rankings, like you weren't being ranked on these websites. You didn't get offers compiling in, especially now if we look at what you become. I'm sure a lot more schools would have pursued you going through high school. But for you, did that ever get challenging? Like I can imagine you're going through this, you're obviously working at this, you love the sport, you don't get all the things that you probably deserve. So did that affect you? Did that hurt you at any point? Like, how did you deal with that throughout high school?
Uh, I, I mean, I kind of took it a little more personally than I probably should have. Just in a sense, I knew my skill level, and in my class in Colorado was pretty good. Obviously, we had Colby Ross, Deshaun, Jayzik's doing really well at his level right now. I think he was All American last year, and he's beat a couple of D1 teams. And so I knew just coming out of high school, I had a lot more talent than people are thinking. But at the same time, got to still stay focused on the mission. And in high school, it was to go out there and help my team win a state championship. And obviously, we fell short. But once that was over and all the college coaches did talk to me, then it was kind of just finding the right fit and who believed in me from the very jump.
So all along, did you always say like, okay, I know I can do this. I just need time to develop me? Or did you at any point kind of say, okay, is basketball meant for me? Like, did it ever get to that point for you?
No, I think I kind of just every day, like I've said before, just kept working, trusting my high school coach, trusting my AAU coach, trusting my parents to lead me in the right way, basically lead me to a good decision. And I knew that I didn't know everything. So obviously if people weren't looking at me, I had something to improve on and just try to continue to work on my weaknesses.
Another aspect for that too is that growing up in Colorado is obviously not known as a big time basketball state or sports state. Like they don't get a lot of attention just in that aspect as well. So what was it like growing up in that group? Like you always like there was talent, obviously. Colby Ross, we know exactly what he did over his career and a lot of other names too. But what was it like just playing basketball in that Colorado?
Uh, well, I mean, when I was growing up, obviously, high school was kind of different. Like you said, it wasn't very well known. So AAU was kind of where we got to play a lot bigger competition, a lot better competition, and even play up and get better competition. So going out of state, we really never had that respect when people were going to play us. They're like, "Oh, you're from Colorado, you know, we'll be fine." But we always, the group of guys I played with in AAU, always worked hard year round, and all of us were on kind of the same wavelength. Just no one really respected us, and it's our job to go out there and prove them why they should respect us.
Well, let's get into the high school career a little bit deeper. Your underclassmen year is obviously a little bit developing. Your sophomore year, you have a pretty solid year, 18 points a game. How big was that for you? Like in terms of your underclassmen years, how important were those years for you in terms of developing then for your upperclassmen years and then obviously in your college career?
I think, like I said, freshman year, being a fresh fish, being a little pup, I didn't really understand how big the situation was. And coming in, I played varsity all 4 years, and my first year of varsity, that being that freshman year, was very different. Obviously, guys were a lot bigger than I was used to, a lot faster, a lot stronger. So trying to find my way around that and still be effective and still help the team any way I could was very, very challenging. But I think it set me up for that sophomore year jump as well as that junior year jump. Just in terms of me understanding that I could do it. I think I averaged like 8 points my freshman year or something like that, which isn't really good, but it's not bad at all. And I kind of just proved to myself I could do it and could be there and deserve to be there. So
So that junior season, you have maybe your best all-around year in terms of a team, personal wise as well. You go 22 points a game, and all those stats are great as well. You guys go to the all-state team that season. You guys go to the semifinals as well. How was that year for you? Just to kind of walk us through that year and just how big that was for you, just enjoyment wise, and also just in terms of player development.
I think it was huge. That year, my junior year, is when I started working with a personal trainer. And that's kind of, as I said before, when I thought I really could do this. And so coming out to begin that year, it was kind of like every other year. We thought we had a pretty good team. We were getting a lot older, so a bunch of seniors, a bunch of juniors. And we had just got beaten pretty bad the last 2 years. I think my first and second season, we only won like 8 or 9 games, both of them. And so we knew it was kind of our time to come back and go and beat everybody that was beating us. But it was not until probably the playoffs where we realized just how good we were playing at Golden, because I think we played Pueblo Central first and then Golden, who was actually the home team and the higher ranked seed. And they had just the night before we played them gone crazy. And I mean, Adam Thistlewood's on that team from CSU. He hit like 4 or 5 threes. Their bigs were hitting threes. And we were looking at that, watching that game after we played Pueblo Central, like, how are we going to beat these dudes? Like these dudes are hitting everything. And then when we did beat them, it kind of sparked that run to the Final Four. And I think that's really when we knew how good we were, because our conference is pretty good every single year.
So when was the very first time a college started reaching out to you? Do you remember that day, and who was it?
Oh, well, I mean, Air Force in the backyard always, from my freshman or sophomore year, was keeping tabs on me and asking if I'd be interested in joining the Air Force. And then UCCS also in the backyard, Division II, pretty good at the time. They had Derek White some of those years. They were one of their assistant coaches was really good friends with one of my assistant high school coaches. So just knew they were always interested as well. And they'd actually be my first offer, UCCS. And then after that Final Four run is kind of when all the other schools started to come in.
You head into that senior year then for yourself, another pretty solid overall year. You end up leaving your career at 1,194 points. Was that shocking to you, like, to kind of see the way you developed from the time you were a freshman, not yet sold on basketball, to then becoming the all-around school star and becoming a guy who's going to go Division I? Like, was that surprising to you, or did you kind of expect that to happen by the time you were a senior?
I think they still got to fix that number. I think I was at like 1,800.
Oh,
But no, I think just my junior year is kind of when it kind of got real, and it was getting bigger, and I realized it was getting bigger. And then my senior year, I was already committed, and so was Deshaun Schwartz, who went to CU, now at George Mason, and his school and my school were actually rivals. So every time we played them, it was sold out for C team, and one of the biggest games in the state on that day. So it was really cool to see, and I think I took it a little bit for granted because my brother's in high school now, and they play, and I see their crowds, and I'm like, this was kind of like nothing for us. Like, that would have been upsetting if we saw that many people at our game. But they're doing good. So COVID, can't complain.
when you just look at some of these guys, like you said, Deshaun, obviously you mentioned Adam, and you get to play against him a lot now throughout your career. But like these guys that you've kind of grown up with, in a sense, played against your entire life, when you get to go out there now, play against them at the college level, and to see the way all you guys' careers have panned out, what's it like kind of embracing that and seeing that?
I mean, the one with Deshaun was really special, just in the sense of it. I think we played him my redshirt sophomore season,
Yeah.
in Vegas, and so all our families traveled out there. It was a bunch for both of us, and it was kind of like a little Colorado Springs reunion. But it's super special, just in a sense of playing with them for so long, and then having to actually go up against them in college at the highest level possible is definitely something super fun, and something I get to do. I've been able to do almost every year now with Javante at New Mexico, because me and him, he went to one of the schools in my conference and he goes to the same trainer I had. So it's definitely something special and something that you can't take for granted because it doesn't happen very often.
You haven't gone through the transfer portal process yet or anything like that, but Deshaun obviously did. So when he was in that the past summer, obviously we know he ended up at George Mason, but did you guys ever talk? Was that ever something that you would like to do, possibly team up with him at the college level?
Um, I don't know if we would ever team up.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we tried in high school and it didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
We were both wanting to go to a certain school and it just fell apart, didn't really come to fruition. But in the college level, uh, I think just the timing of things. Obviously, he was at CU, and if I would have transferred, it would have been when I got a new head coach, and he would have still stayed at CU because he was in a good position. And then obviously, when I stayed and he decided to leave, I'm in a good position, and I felt the best fit was to stay here. So I don't know. We never really talked about it, but I just think the timing of it would have been very hard.
So let's go through that recruiting process. Ultimately, we know where you end up at Wyoming now, but who did this kind of come down to for you? Like, what was your final group, and why was Wyoming the school that sold you over at that point?
I really wanted to go Long Beach State.
Mm-hmm.
Washington State had also hit me up, but it was probably between those three, just in a sense of communication and how hard they were recruiting me at the time. Long Beach State came to watch me for one of my AU games, and I just recently injured my quad, so I wasn't as explosive, and they didn't see what they liked, so they stopped recruiting me after that. And then Washington State was on and off, and Wyoming was kind of the only team that was there the whole process and wanting to come to games and asking me or calling me at least once a week. So it was definitely, they showed me how much they wanted me and how much they believed in me.
I'm not sure if you've got to play at either one of those other two schools yet throughout your career, but when you just look at it in terms of, okay, these two schools clearly made a mistake. I mean, I'm obviously you've determined and become now one of the all conference players, probably going to be all conference first, second team this year now again. So when you just kind of have that edge in a way, knowing that not just those two schools, but obviously pretty much every school in the country missed out on you too. So is there a certain edge when you match up against any of those type of schools?
Um, I think it definitely helps when you do play those schools, especially when um, you wanted to go there. But at the end of the day, uh, things happen for a reason, and I like to think about it like that. And whether or not they missed out, that's kind of up to them to decide. And for me, it's all about getting better where I'm at. Because thinking about where I could have been will just it won't let me live where I'm at right now, if that makes sense.
And that is a huge thing because you obviously, you kind of mentioned earlier too, like you go to Wyoming and we obviously know it's not going to be the biggest party city place in the country. Like you're going to be there pretty much all by yourself as you've now experienced for the past 4 or 5 years now. So how as big has that been for you? Like going to a place where there just isn't much stuff going on compared to these other states that they might have? How big has it been
Uh,
for development?
I think it's definitely when you're a freshman, it's new, it's exciting, but after a couple weeks, you realize what it is, especially because it is a college town. In the summer, no one's here.
Mm-hmm.
It's the athletes, and then I think as you get to the season, you kind of realize, although it is small and not have it may not have as much as the other big cities do,
Mm-hmm.
um, because it lacks all that, it makes up for it in how much the people support you, how genuine they are, how close they get to you, how you basically know everyone here, um, and how basically, yeah, like I said earlier, how much support you have, and it makes up for it a lot in that way.
Now, your freshman season was under a different coach, Coach Allen Edwards, who's now at LMU. So, what was about him? Like, how much did you enjoy him? Because he's obviously the first coach you commit to, kind of the reason you went there. So, what was your guys' relationship like, and just what was like kind of playing for him your freshman year?
That was very special. I was actually his first recruit because he just got the job. Came down and saw me a little later, and I was actually his first recruit under him being the head coach, and it was actually super special. Me and him are very close and still keep in contact. And I think playing under him, obviously, you're going to get closer when you're going through adversity. But he's definitely a great guy, great coach, and wish nothing but the best for him.
Now you head in there as a freshman that season, and it's a new environment. It's a college world. You didn't get as much run than that year, but you still end up getting started 19 games that season. You still have a pretty solid role on the team. How was that freshman year like for you? Like going through training camp and the preseason process, all that stuff. How are you getting prepared? And was it kind of like a wake up moment for you to get to the college level?
Yeah, definitely. My first day here was a wake up moment. We were playing 5-on-5, and I went up for a layup, and um, I think Lou or Drew, they came over, contested the layup, walled up, and I got put right on my butt, like ripped a hole in my shorts that I just got, and I was like, "Oh, this is college. Like, got to get used to it." But I think just going in freshman year, like you said, I think I started the first couple games actually. I did really well in our exhibition game, so I was like, "Oh, I'm at college. I made it. Like I'm gonna be good." Like I think I dropped like 20 or something. I was like, "Oh yeah, this is easy." And then get to the real games, and I was sitting here struggling a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did have a stretch of games where I didn't even play. So going through that was really tough mentally and physically, just in the sense of you're not getting the same type of cardio in or the same reads, being able to get some game time in. So you're sitting there at practice and having to rely on that to basically stay in shape when you're not getting all the reps because you're not on that starting group. You're not even playing. But figuring that out and being able to come back and be ready and actually start for most of the conference games until I twisted my ankle was very special. Something I think I deserved and worked hard for. And obviously, it's always good and feels good when you do get the tick and get to play and you see your work come to fruition.
There's a guy that is now in the NBA today that was on that roster, and Justin, and that has to be huge. I mean, whenever you talk about even just a guy that's a great experienced guard, like even for yourself at this point, you get able to help the young guys up and coming. But when you have like a guy that is now an NBA prospect, a guy that's played in the NBA and at that time was just getting ready for that time, how big was that for your career? Just kind of learn from an NBA type mindset, an NBA type player.
Um, it was really, really big. He's helped me a lot. And even some of the guys like Larry comes and talk. I've talked to Larry a couple times and he's helped me out. Or Josh is playing overseas, but he's a really good player. And all those guys help JJ. And just to have all of them in front of him. And then JJ was actually my roommate in the same apartment for 2 years. Um, just to live with him and see what he does and his habits and how he got to where he's at helped me kind of pave my own work ethic and try to find my way of doing it.
If you could pick the biggest thing you either learn from him, rather it be something on the court, off the court, what would that be?
I think one of the biggest things was probably calming down during games when they make a run or when they do get close. My freshman year, I had him in HD. HD plays overseas as well, but them two alone, like whenever another team went on a run and close that gap or we were behind and we needed to come back, they helped lead the way. And just to see that kind of composure and what it looked like to be a leader definitely helped me become who I am today. And um, I think we played CSU. We were down like 20 at their place, and we ended up forcing it to overtime coming back. In that game, I remember just so vividly how they helped us and what it looked like, and it's how I kind of try to teach these guys now.
When you look at your freshman year, and like you said, obviously at first it was a wake up call, then you felt comfortable, then obviously it was a little bit of a wake up call again. But you look now to today, where your guys can be an all conference selection locked in. I don't know what team it will be yet, but obviously it's going to be on there. You just see the way you've developed as a player. Has this all kind of been something you expected to? Like, did you think you'd become this dominant of a player at Wyoming? Do you think you'd just be a decent player? Like, where are you kind of at right now compared to where you expect yourself to be at?
I think it's definitely what I thought it would be, and I think I would have gotten there or wished to have gotten there sooner. But um, obviously, you just got to play the cards you were dealt, and I did get injured, and I had to miss a whole year. and get back from that. And I ended up, as you can see, being just fine and continuing what I was supposed to continue. But my sophomore year, when I did get hurt, I was starting to get into a rhythm. I think I was averaging like 15 when I did get hurt. So it wasn't a setback, but it definitely took some time to get back to where I wanted to be and not be frustrated that it wasn't happening sooner.
And that is one of the big cards I want to talk about for you because, like you said, you're coming off your freshman year. It's typically for 99% of guys, your developmental year. You're kind of learning your way, and then you get a time to settle down. You get your coach again for another season, and you're kind of getting ready for that. Like you get started off the year, you start 5 starts right off the back. You're 13.8 points a game. Like you're starting to really play and find your groove. How was that for you? Like just going through the summer though, leading up to that sophomore year. How high were your expectations for that sophomore year for yourself?
They were super high. Obviously, with JJ coming back for his last year, and then me kind of being able to grow, and I was taking on a bigger role than I recently had with a lot of our seniors leaving and some guys transferring. It was over the summer very exciting because I knew I was going to have a bigger role, and I thought I was ready for it. I felt I was ready for it. So starting off the year, I was as excited as I could ever be. Obviously, it didn't pan out that way, but I think the expectations were pretty high.
Now, take us through the injury. When that officially occurs for yourself, just walk us through everything that happened, how you handled it, how you dealt with it.
I got hurt like one of the first games of the season. I fell pretty hard. Back just tightened up on me, and a little bit of a sharp pain, but kind of went away. Wasn't too bad. But as I got tired throughout practices and games, back never really got a chance to heal because when you're in season, I mean, you don't get too many days off.
Yeah.
And at that point, when your back is pretty tight and can't do much for it, what you need is days off, and you just don't have them. So, think fast forward a couple games, landed pretty hard again. That jolted it, hurt pretty bad. The sharp pains were a little more often, and then we ended up flying out to Fort Myers for the Florida tournament. And the plane ride was just terrible. Like my back was already tight after that. I was cramping up. Had to sit there and have our trainer basically massage it and like just try to get it loose to where I could walk because I couldn't really walk. Like I was just having to lay down and sit down, and it was miserable. And then throughout that, I actually ended up missing one of the games in Fort Myers due to the back because it was so tight and I couldn't run, couldn't move. It just hurt. And then I actually ended up getting, when we got back, I ended up getting a cortisone shot just to kind of alleviate some of the swelling that was in it and minimize the pain. And then the next game after that was our Denver one, and I ended up getting hurt that one. And obviously went up for a rebound, got it undercut. And from there, when I landed, I just knew it was pretty bad because it hurt really bad. And as the feeling came and I could actually understand what was happening, I couldn't really feel my leg. And they had to end up wheelchairing me off. But it was a long process that led up to it, just in sort of pain and all the stuff that was happening. So it was definitely long, but it is what it is.
And that's a unique thing because obviously you played countless games and countless scrimmages and whatnot throughout your career yet. So to have three things that all involve your back in the same sort of way to a certain extent, was that something that you've never experienced before? Like, have you landed on your back since that point, or was it just something that truly oddly has kind of happened 3 times in probably about 2 months or less span?
Yeah, no, that definitely. I've actually landed on it a lot since then, but I think when I did come back, I landed on it. I actually played in the USA. So being from Colorado Springs, they have that Olympic Training Center down there, and they try to get some local teams to go out and play against some of the U18s or whoever it is that they're going to take overseas just to get them some runs. And I actually ended up playing against them, and I actually landed pretty hard. And I got up, I was fine, didn't hurt as bad as it used to through all the rehab and all that kind of stuff. And so I was pretty happy with that, and kind of was like deep breath of like, okay, I'm good. I can I can keep playing. So.
So was that rehab process something that took you the rest of the season into the spring and summer, or just was that something that just got done with at some point during the year? Like, how long was it rehab for you?
I think I stopped doing stuff like, well, I mean, I've never really stopped doing stuff. I still have to do stuff for it. Um, so I can't do crunches. Like I'm not supposed to do crunches or sit-ups for the rest of my life. But um, we do a lot of modified stuff. It doesn't hurt anymore. But the actual physical therapy of, I think I couldn't walk or feel my leg for about 3 months. So couldn't walk and had to basically use crutches. And when feeling did come back, I actually realized I sprained my MCL and had a high ankle sprain. So had a boot on, had a knee brace on. The whole leg was just like a robot. But it was after that I actually started like actual like PT at a clinic, and that process probably took about a year. Um, where we were just doing certain exercises just to try to strengthen all the little muscles and big muscles in your back that need to work together. And then, like I said, since then, it's kind of been just maintenance and doing what I can to make sure it doesn't get tight, because it'll still get tight at some points. But the pain's it comes with the tightness, but it's not something that is there every single day like it was. So
That has to be a scary scenario for you too, because obviously that's not just a typical leg or arm or something injury. That's something that's affecting you in mass ways. And obviously we've seen many stories of athletes and stuff that can happen with the back or head even. So when you're going through that process, walk us through your mindset. Like, how are you feeling? Was playing basketball even really on your mind at all? Was getting back really heavily on there? Was just, I just need to get back to myself feeling normal again? Or what was your mindset in terms of basketball, or maybe not even basketball throughout those time?
uh yeah, I ended up bruising my sciatic nerve. So um they didn't know when it was going to come back. It was kind of just like when the swelling goes away, and when it's not bruised, the feeling will come back. And so every day waking up, like hopefully today's the day it comes back, is kind of scary. But I also knew that, I mean, I had my time where it was like, why me? Like, why is this happening to me? But um, growing from that and seeing what I can do, because my team was still in season, try to help them out and um, give them my best effort. They don't need someone that's going to sit on the edge of the bench just mad and worried about themselves. So just that whole process was kind of, it was bad, but at the end of the day, I think I grew a lot from it, not only as a basketball player but as a person.
Mm-hmm. That is what a lot of people do say too. Like when you go through a severe injury, sometimes this may not be obviously on the core and your skill set, but in terms of almost like a coach mindset in some cases, maybe just understanding the game better, where were the growths you made, maybe mentally, as a person, as a player, whatever it is, throughout that time span?
I think there's a lot of areas. One is just being vocal leader, obviously. Um, I was more of a leader by example, but when you're hurt, you can't really do anything. You can't lead by example. So trying to find a way to lead the guys and encourage them by using my voice was huge. And then along with that, just probably getting that mindset right for the whole season and the rest of my life, just knowing that every day is going to be a fight, whether you like it or not. If you don't wake up and go attack the day, then it's going to attack you, and you're not going to have no fun. And for me, just waking up and getting that mindset of, okay, what do I got to do today? How am I going to do it? And how am I going to be the best at doing it was probably what helped me the most.
When that day did come, you started feeling your legs again, feeling in a way more normal than you probably did before. Do you remember when that was, and just what was your reaction?
I don't remember when, like, I don't know the date, but
Yeah.
it hurt really bad. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't really wish it upon anybody. When your nerves kind of come back to trying to feel something, it burns. Like it's like they're set on fire almost. And so like I don't know. It's crazy. I don't even know how to explain it. You kind of have to feel it to know what it feels like. But I just remember it hurting a lot, but also being excited and wanting to kind of push the envelope to try to walk and get back and run and jump and do all these things, and having to be told like, no, we got one step at a time, like calm down. Let's just do it nice and slow. Make sure you can get back right. It was frustrating. It hurt, but it was also exciting.
And now, obviously, at that point, I can imagine you start kind of feeling like, okay, my mindset's in a way going to get back to playing basketball someday down the road, at least. And we obviously see you get back there, you end up playing in your next season, you dominate too. We'll talk about that in a second. But where were you from the point you started feeling again and kind of getting in a way normaler to the point that you always stepped foot back on the basketball court? Like, take us to the steps and how you got to that point.
Well, strengthen the muscle, the quad back up. I had atrophy in my leg basically from not using it. So all the muscles were gone. My leg looked skinny, looked like straight bones. So I had to get muscles back on it. And then figuring out how to walk properly, because I hadn't walked so long that I had to focus on heel to toe, just to make sure I was walking properly and not just like dragging my foot along the floor. And then once I got that kind of taken care of, kind of like knowing how to ride a bicycle, the running, the jumping kind of came back. Obviously, I was a little more hesitant to do it, just in a sense of my body knew it hurt itself, and it was kind of hard to get it to want to get up to Division I like level again. But once I got past the walking and all of that, it just took time. I had to sit there and build all the muscles until I could work on actually playing basketball and practicing again.
When was the first time you got back on that court? Like, what month was it?
Oh, I have no clue. It was a while. I know I think I got hurt in December. I think it was like December 12th. And then I saw one of the specialists for the Denver Broncos probably maybe at the end of March. And then after that was kind of when I was kind of okay to go ahead and try to start doing stuff maybe in April or May.
Let's hop into that then. Redshirt sophomore season for you, and we look at your stats overall. You end up playing and starting in 33 of those games, averaging 16 a game, almost 6 rebounds, 4 assists. That was obviously a great year for yourself overall as a team, 9-24 record. But you just get back on that court. How excited was that for you to just get back on the court for the very first play in that very first game?
I was pretty nervous that first game, and I think it was definitely something that I had been looking forward to a lot, but different in a sense of now I knew I had to be a little. I didn't have to be more careful, but I knew I knew I wasn't the same person I was before, and I had to go out there and find ways to be better than I was before. Losing, whether it was athleticism or speed or strength during that time, just to work back up to it and take it one step at a time.
That's the trickiest part for a lot of guys coming back from severe injuries. Kind of, like you said, dealing with in a way that worry, or not necessarily even worry, it's kind of like knowing what could happen, just being a little bit more cautious about that, I should say. And that's not always easy for athletes when you're in the middle of a game. So when did you start feeling kind of no longer concerned too much? I'm sure still always in the back of your mind in a certain sense, but like when did you start feeling like, okay, I'm not really going to worry about this anymore. I can just go out there and play. At what point in the season was that for you?
I think towards like actually halftime of that first game, it was like, okay, like I'm good. Like I can do this. Like I got the first half out, like the jitters are gone. Everything's normal. I feel good. And just like I said, take that deep breath and go play how I know how to play. I think definitely that first half was a lot more cautious in a sense of just like you said, knowing what could happen. You never really think it's going to happen to you. You don't think you're going to be the one. But now that you know it can happen to you and you're not invincible, just realizing that I think took a little bit of time. And then once we got to half, it was like, oh, I'm good. I'm going to go ball.
Now, throughout the course of that year, like I said, it wasn't the best overall team record, but you're just feeling comfortable. You become an all-conference selection and third team All-Mountain West. Take us to that year, though. Now you're really focused on growing as a player, becoming a more and more Mountain West star type caliber guy now. So how was that year for you player-wise and development-wise?
I think it's huge. But like I said, the year before, being hurt, being able to lead with my voice, now I can lead with my voice and my actions. And so obviously we didn't have the best year, but getting the experience of playing and getting those games under our belt, I think it was a lot of adversity, and just being able to fight through that and continue to try and go out there and give your best every day and be the best you can be is something you can take away for the rest of your life. So.
And how did you deal with the losing on that season? Because like you said, you obviously are glad to be back out there, but losing that many games obviously can't be easy on anyone. So how did you kind of take that and maybe turn into a positive in any sense, or just how did you deal with the losing aspect?
One at a time. Obviously, I'm a competitor. I hate to lose. It's frustrating. It's not what you want. And obviously, the fans here, that's not what they want, so they're going to be upset. And so you just got everyone here is upset about it, right? And so I think just taking it one at a time, and in a sense of waking up, it's a new day. If you quit today, I mean, you're gonna still be a loser. Like you have to go out and change that yourself. So waking up, going and attacking the day, like I said, and trying to find a new edge, a new way I can be better than I was yesterday, or even an hour, 2 hours ago, is something that I try to do and basically put my mind on to get through that season and still go out and compete at a high level.
Another big change happens in your life after that season. That's the coach that we talked about earlier, Coach Allen Edwards. He obviously gets let go. In comes Coach Linder. And this is something that's tricky for a lot of guys too now, because you coming off a pretty great season, all conference third team selection. I'm sure if you decided to put your name in the portal, you could have got a lot of offers, a lot of openings. How did you take that in? Just starting off though with Coach Edwards getting let go, was that surprising to you? Were you okay with that in a certain sense? Like, were you excited for the future more? Just how did you take in that whole situation happening?
I think we kind of knew it was coming, just in the sense of even when we were having our run, we weren't getting much support, because we did go to the semifinals and play Utah State in the Mountain West Conference tournament. And while we were getting a little support, if we were to do it the same way in a good season, we'd get so much more. And everyone kind of knew that. They knew it was coming down to the crunch time, whether he was going to get fired or not. And I think he had one more year on his contract when he did get fired. But we knew it was coming. Like you could just sense it through the whole athletic department. Like, could feel it. Even if when we did good, we were hoping it'd give him a better chance of staying, and obviously it didn't. And I was a little upset, a little sad. But I think anyone would be sad when you're that close with that many people going through that much stuff for 3 years. Yes. So when that did happen, it was, I have a rule where it's like you can sit there, be upset for basically 72 hours. And after that, you got to find a way to move on and be better and look at the next challenges ahead as something you want to take on, and not sit there and why me, you know? Yeah. So once that did happen, and obviously we had a couple months left with him before he left and tried to find a new job. So just getting the word that I was out was tough, but once it passed, was excited. And like you said, I came off a great season. So the question was whether to stay or not. But that kind of came down to just the fan base. And I came here to try to lead the Wyoming Cowboys to a Mountain West title. And I felt like if I would have left, I would have been quitting on them. And then along with that, my roommate, Hunter Thompson, me and him have been together all 5 years I've been here, basically. We've been roommates the whole time. So it was kind of like if he left, then I probably would have left too. But if he stayed, then I knew it was my place to stay as well. And he was in the same boat. So it was kind of a joint decision with him to not quit on Wyoming and be who we are and stay here and give them the best we have until we basically just go down fighting.
And in comes a coach that's now regarded as one of the most successful young, bright coaches for the future now, Coach Linder. And he obviously has done great things with you guys so far. But did you guys click at first place? Like, when you first found out he's the new coach out there, what was your reaction? Did you ever know of him at all to any extent before that? Like, just take us through just getting to know him a little bit.
Yeah, he came up to Wyoming and beat us twice up here, 3 times up here. So we played him before. I knew who he was. Didn't know much about like him as a person, but knew of him, I should say. And when he did get hired, it was kind of seeing, I know some of the players that played for him at Northern Colorado, so texting them, seeing what kind of coach he was, um, just in a sense of seeing if it'd be a right fit for me, if I wanted to stay or not. And then he actually ended up calling me later and later that day and telling me like, "Hey, I'm gonna come down to see you. I would love to have you stay." And I think after that talk was that talk was what decided for me to stay here and continue with him. Because obviously, if you and the coach don't get along, then probably not the best fit for you. So knowing I wanted to stay for the fans, and then him fitting right into that and being a great coach, and like you said, one of the best, brightest young coaches there is, no brainer to stay and go play for him. It's an honor.
For the media and for fans and everyone else in the country, we just see you guys, obviously last year over 500 in a COVID year with a lot of freshmen. This year, 11-2, obviously an incredible start for you guys. But we don't necessarily see what goes on behind the scenes, off the court and all that. So what does he do to become so special? Like, what makes Coach Linder such a special young coach?
I think the amount of hours he puts into his job, obviously, he's one of the most well-prepared coaches I've ever been around. And he always knows what the other team's going to do and how to put you in the best position to succeed, not only for yourself, but for the team. And everyone's playing to their strengths. And he's a big numbers guy, which is fun. And obviously numbers don't lie. So he finds a way to put you in those positions where your numbers are the best and where your strengths are. And at the end of the day, if you execute, you're going to succeed with the positions he puts you in.
What would you say is your favorite memory, or maybe your funniest memory so far with Coach Linder?
Oh, I think, there's a funny one. Funny one was when we, obviously COVID year, we couldn't do very much team stuff. So we were kind of bummed. We were playing in Colorado Springs and about to play Air Force or New Mexico. I don't remember, because we ended up playing New Mexico at Air Force that year. Mm-hmm. But we actually did like a little group karaoke after dinner, because it was just, obviously you couldn't do much and we needed to do something in Colorado Springs and kind of get closer to each other. And that was pretty fun. Everyone sang in a couple groups. So that was fun. And then best, I mean, I think that one's a tough one. There's a lot, just in the sense of all the stuff he's taught me so far. I think I'd have to think about that one. And he's a great coach. So I think the best one last year when we played San Diego State in the tournament, just his game plan was it's something you just look at and you're like, how's this going to work? And you just go in there and trust him, and you just realize how good of a coach he is, how brilliant he is. And he put us in a position to win. And obviously we didn't end up winning, but we were really close, and just came down to a couple missed shots, couple rebounds. So
you mentioned the karaoke aspect. So who was the best singer on the team last year when it happened?
Oh man. We went in groups. So it was like 2 or 3 of us, or I guess as much as you wanted. We did like probably 8 or 9 groups, but Dallas, our trainer, his song was funny. He was really good performer. And you just have to know Dallas. Like he's not the kind of guy to go out there. He's a little bit reserved. Mm-hmm. So to see him go out and do that was very exciting and fun. And like I said earlier, for Coach Linder, up until that point, we hadn't been able to do much stuff. So for him to be able to join us and enjoy the fun with us was special.
There is an assistant coach on that team that's not too reserved. Probably the complete opposite of that. It's Coach Wick. So Sundance a little bit. I know he's got quite the character. I've known him since I've been young with my coach for AAU stuff. So what's it just like being around him and that energy?
well, I'm around him all the time. He's my position coach, so he kind of coaches the guards. And it's I mean, it's fun for me. I love it. Like I'm a huge energy guy. I like that stuff. So when he's ramped up and when he's fired up, it's fun, exciting. It brings my energy up. Um, and obviously, he is a very smart guy. He's been around. He's been coaching a couple different places now, and even was a head coach. So just him being the energy guy obviously is one way you can look at it, but I think he's a great person overall, and has so much to teach. And he's taught me so much stuff just in time from him being here, since Coach Linder's got here as well. So
Let's hop into last season because one aspect that we saw Coach Linder's obviously great at and the whole staff is recruiting because you guys go out there and obviously Wyoming's not going to be able to pull in the 5-star ranked recruits or whatnot, but you look at all these guys, all similar to your story, not high recruited, not a lot of offers, and they all become great so far. Marcus obviously decided to take his talent out there at Texas A&M. He's a special young guard. Xavier is obviously one of the top shooters in the conference, going to become one of the top shooters in the country, period, too. He's not only a sophomore. Drake comes in from JUCO. He's been phenomenal. Graham has been all climbers level as well with yourself. Jeremiah is obviously big time. So all this young talent comes in. They nail each and every single one of them. How big were they for you guys last year? And just what was like kind of being the leader on this super young squad last season?
I think it has its challenges, but it was definitely fun and exciting. Just in the energy they bring. Obviously, when you're a freshman, you don't know what to expect, but you come in guns blazing, trying to do everything like coaches are asking you, so you can come in and play. And I think it was just fun to be able to be with that group of guys, lead them, and I think the coaching staff and Coach Linder have done a great job of recruiting those types of guys even at UNC, as they won a bunch of games down there. And he's brought that formula up to here, and as you can see, the past 2 years done the same thing. But it's definitely fun and exciting when you get to coach those or lead those kind of guys.
In terms of scoring, your numbers went down a little bit there, but I think just looking over at the way you played and as a player, I think everyone kind of agreed you played probably your best overall season because your assists and your rebounds went up, steals went up. You guys win over 500 in a tough environment too. So how do you feel about last season? Like obviously COVID affected it in a lot of ways, but how would you kind of grade your season last season?
I mean, I think I did really well, just in the sense of new coaching staff, new team, but along with that new system, obviously, when AE was here, Coach Edwards was here. Our offense was different. Our defense was different. So like all the guys, it was my first year with him too. So I had to go out there, learn what he wanted, learn how it looked. And obviously I have more experience just from being in college longer,
Yeah.
but trying to translate that experience into uh, his system, what he's looking for, was a little challenging to begin with. And then as stuff grew, obviously I've started playing the four a lot more last year than point guard, which I was when Coach E was here. So the numbers did drop, but I still think my usage was probably around the same. And I have no problem with numbers dropping. I was happy we're winning games and being put in position to win games. So it was definitely something pretty fun, pretty exciting. And like I said, I think I did a good job. And this year, as you can see, got a little more comfortable with it, and the numbers will take care of themselves.
So out of all those freshmen last year, which one was kind of the funniest one, or which one did you maybe form the best relationship with last season?
Ooh. Um, I think I grew closest with Marcus just because he was in my position. So I was with him all the time, working out with him all the time. Um, Definitely puts in the work, and nothing bad to say about him. He deserves everything because he's worked hard for it. Um, I think the funniest one, just depends, because when you get them all together, they're all hilarious. Like they feed off of each other. Um, but it's hard to think about that when you have this new group right here.
Mhm.
I'm trying to remember who was all here last year. But Graham's pretty funny.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know though. I don't know if there because they, like I said, they all feed off each other, and they were pretty close with each other, reserved in a sense of freshmen. Like
Mhm.
they're not the most they're not shy, but they are new.
Mhm.
So that and COVID made it hard to kind of
Yeah.
grow super close. But I think obviously closest was Marcus, and then funny them as a group was probably would have to be my answer because they're all hilarious.
Well, let's go into the overall this past offseason now because this obviously was huge. In a way, COVID protocol was less, I should say. Obviously, now they're kind of coming back, and you guys have dealt with that too, firsthand experience. So, but overall, like the intense protocols are pretty much the nearly daily testing and mask everywhere has gone down for the most part. So, you guys get to finally start growing a lot. And Marcus transfers out, obviously, which means you get a lot more run at the point guard spot too. So, this whole group it kind of develops. We obviously X becoming even a better player, now averaging right around 10 points. Probably the biggest jump in maybe even the whole country has been Graham, almost a 20 point per game type of guy now. So how did you guys just kind of form this whole group to get to 11-2 record? It's not easy. So how do all you guys develop and just what was the offseason like as a group?
I think just it started. I think at the end of last year, once Graham could get back, and I think he took the spotlight pretty quickly because everyone saw how talented he was, just in the sense of his skill and how big he was. So I think it started when he got back and we started being able to mess with the rotation with him in. Just kind of showed us what we could do. And then obviously getting to the summer, Marcus left. Um, but we were able to kind of keep our core group of guys and get them basically a year of experience with COVID and then translate that to this year. And with COVID protocols being reduced, as you said, get a lot more reps of 5-on-5, a lot more live action looks and reads. And I think playing basketball is the best way to kind of get better at it. So that's this past summer was all about playing. And I think that and defense kind of just shine through this season so far.
Going to Graham a little bit more, I mean, you two have formed statistically wise and obviously production wise too, one of the better dynamic duos in the entire country right now, the way you guys are playing together. And he obviously kind of showed flashes of this, but to have this type of jump as a sophomore is impressive. There's not too many guys out there averaging 19 and a half or more now. So did you kind of see that? Did you expect him to have this good of a year heading into the season? Has he surprised you at all a little bit? Like, where do you kind of feel he was going to be at this year?
I think I saw last year how special he was, just in sense of being by him and being around him and practicing with him. And then I know how much work he puts in. Obviously, me and him talk a lot, and so just to see how his brain works and how he looks at the game is very exciting and helps me learn a lot because we look at it differently.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously, like I said earlier, he puts in the work. He's one of the hardest workers I know. So for me to see that coming to fruition and for everyone else to see it is very special. I'm not surprised at all, and I think um, he'll continue to put in the work and only get better and better. And as I said at the beginning of the season, he's going to be a problem for everybody. So
Now, for yourself, you've obviously had your best season by far so far. Everything's been up. You've been playing at, like I said, an all commerce first, second team level right now. Did you expect this for yourself to like? Did you kind of feel okay? Now is my time. Like this is going to be my year. I make my statement. Was this kind of always the plan heading into the year? Or have you maybe shocked yourself a little bit?
I think I came into the year. I mean, I've come in the past 3 years aiming to do what I'm doing right now. Obviously, I'm executing a lot better. My numbers are up, but I think that just comes from the work I've put in and being more comfortable in this system and knowing what coach is looking for and the certain reads I can make out of our offense.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, like I said before, knowing that I can do this and I've done it before and I was on pace to do it before helps build and fuel my confidence just to keep going out there. And obviously now I'm a fifth year senior, so nothing can replicate experience. And so going out there with that experience helped me as well.
Anyone that follows you guys' program, everyone kind of knows about the hard hat. Take us to that a little bit. What does that kind of bring to everyone? Like, what is that any kind of like backstory behind that? Or kind of walk us through the hard hat.
I think it's just, I think most teams have something similar. But for us, the hard hat is just goes to the hardest worker, winning play guy, the guy that made most winning plays during that game. And it came about when John, our walk on, he was a foreman of the construction crew, which was our construction crew was our scout guys and energy guys off the bench. So him being the leader of that, and that name just kind of came about. They got us a hard hat to kind of go with it, and obviously you bring your hard hat to go to work. And we know it's not going to be easy. It's not. It's going to be dirty. It's going to be hard. It's going to be something that you have to go out and fight for. So hard hat, I think, just embodies that whole thing.
Another huge thing for you guys was you guys got to go out to Hawaii this year, and traveling is like once again in a way back this season with COVID going down a little bit. And so that was obviously a huge thing for you guys. You get to the all tournament team there. What was it just like being in the Diamond Head Classic, and just what was that experience like for you?
I think it was really fun. I've never been to Hawaii, so being able to stay there for a week was super fun. Not only to play basketball, basketball was just a plus. You know, like I love the places that this game has taken me, and so being able to go out there for that was just so real, honestly, and it's beautiful. And then we did pretty well. Obviously, we lost the first game to Stanford. Didn't go how he wanted, but being able to bounce back against a good Northern Iowa team and then a South Florida team, it was pretty fun. I think pretty good for the guys to see. And at the end of the day, basketball is for you to have fun. So to be able to go out there and play basketball and then enjoy Hawaii was something pretty cool.
Now, as everyone knows, you guys are now on the COVID pause. You guys slowly starting to get ready to go play again. Hopefully this weekend will be the next game back. But walk us through the second half of the year for you guys now in conference play. Obviously, expectations are all high now. Even people are looking at you guys, okay, 11-2. What are you guys going to get done this year? So what is the expectation? Like, what do you think you guys can do this year, the second half of the season?
I think expectations are pretty high. Obviously, being 11-2, and actually, I mean, our whole conference is doing really good right now.
Yep.
I think Colorado State just lost their first one. They're 11-1. Utah State, who we're supposed to play on Saturday, I think they got 10 wins, 11 wins too. Fresno State as well. So, I mean, our conference is loaded with good teams. So I think the second half of the year is going to be that much more important. Obviously, it's going to be tough, but I think if we can stay on the same page and continue to get better every single day, I mean, the sky's the limit.
Is there one team you're most excited for? Obviously, there's the three just mentioned. You also got many other teams, even San Diego State, obviously, who's always the top of everything that seems to be now. So what kind of team are you most excited to go out there and play this year if you have one?
I think this year, I mean, they're all fun to play, obviously, because of how well everyone's doing. But I think obviously for us, the border war with CSU is probably the biggest one. And in a sense for the fans. And I think that one's always exciting to play. Obviously, rivalries are what they are. But I think as a whole, the whole conference is going to be fun to play this year. It's going to be challenging. Every team's good. So we got to go out there and be our best every single game.
Now you reflect back on everyone you have played so far in that conference, and the amount of guards is special. Guys that made the NBA jump, guys that were just exceptional college players. Is there one guard specifically that you've enjoyed going up against the most throughout your career in the Mountain West?
Oh man, that's tough. There's a couple. I mean, the twins were really, really good at Nevada, and I ended up playing them for that first year and second year. But they were just fun to watch. Very, very skilled. And then along with that, Sam Merrill. Sam was really, really good. Tough. I mean, he basically by himself beat us that last year of Allen Edwards. He hit like 5 or 6 shots in a row and then did the same thing to San Diego State to win the championship the next day. So that was super exciting to see. And I think them personally are up there on the top list. And then I think Jalen from Nevada as well last year or 2 years ago, I can't remember.
Mhm.
He was averaging like 30 when he came to play us. And I mean, he was a monster. So, like you said, we have a lot of good guards in this conference, a lot of guys that made the jump. And if they don't go overseas to play at a high level, so it's super exciting to play, and then excited to see as well.
Well, after this season, because of that red shirt you already talked about, there will obviously be a potential for even another year for you to so decide for that. Is this something that's on your mind? Have you even considered thinking about that yet? Or is there any potential chance that we see you at Wyoming for one more year?
Yeah, I've thought about it a lot. Obviously, I have to.
Mhm.
Um, and especially with school coming down, I have to decide if I want what kind of schooling I want to do.
Mhm.
If I do stay, and I have to decide that pretty soon. But for me personally, I'm not going to rush it. Um, it's a big decision, and I don't think um, making that decision right now is what's appropriate.
Mhm.
Um, More worried about continuing to lead these guys and make sure everyone stays on the same page so we can have the best season possible. So I do think about it. It is on my mind, but I think right now my main priority is to go out there and win basketball games.
So just for fans to be a little excited in a certain sense, so there is a potential chance, though, at least that you come back for one more year.
I mean, there is an opportunity of that. That'd be like I said. I don't think about it in the sense of I have to make that decision now, but um, it's on my mind. Obviously, I know I have that year and I can use it if I think that's the best thing for me. But right now, like I said, my mind's on winning basketball games.
Absolutely. Well, in terms of your overall legacy already you created at the school, you're already top 10 in multiple stat categories, defensive rebounds, assists, and steals, with another second half to go. So you're still going to probably add on to that immensely, probably get top 10 in about every stat category. So when you just look at that aspect, like you've now already become one of the better players in program history. What does that mean to you?
I think I'm just very honored, obviously, coming here. Uh, Cowboys are known for being tough, and that's kind of how we always say it. And just all the adversity I've gone through to be able to still do what I've done. Very proud of myself, and like I said, very honored and happy that I could do it for the University of Wyoming.
Absolutely. Well, a few more things before I let you go. One of which is there is something in your bio I want to kind of touch up on. I'm not going to try to pronounce it exactly, but take us through on your Instagram bio. Like, what exactly does that phrase mean on the bottom, and what kind of is
Oh,
the backstory behind that?
it's Greek,
Mhm.
um, and I honestly, I don't know how to say it, and I would probably butcher it if I said it.
Mhm.
Um, but it's just for me a reminder. I like both of so I have a Greek writing on my side and Greek on my chest. The Greek god Achilles on my chest, um, both for different reasons. But I'm I was a big Percy Jackson fan, and then I love Greek mythology.
Mhm.
And so, for me personally, that kind of aspect where it came from is just in a sense um, what I enjoy, what I like for me, what I love, and um, it just kind of came from that love and passion to once I started getting it. When Coach Linder got the job here, he actually, me and Thompson, I'll show you a picture. Me and Thompson, my roommate Hunter Thompson, got these tattoos, and it means if you want change, you have to invite chaos.
Mhm.
But I don't know if you've ever seen that, but we got it with H squared on the bottom since we're both roommates. So I don't know if you can see that.
Mhm.
So we got that all the Greek letters, and then on the bottom one, we moved the I over or the line over a little bit to get an H squared,
Mhm.
and just in a sense of taking on the new coaching, um, we wanted to win. Obviously, we weren't doing too good of a job of that before, so if we wanted to change how to invite chaos, and so we did that. And then in my bio, whatever I don't even know how to say that word, but it basically means life is like in continuous. It's when you look it up, it's a snake eating its tail, and basically just means everything comes back around. And for me personally, it just means like, in a sense of just be a good person. And at the end of the day, if you're a good person, you do good things will come to you.
Absolutely. Well, something I was like wrapping up is talking about your legacy overall, and eventually someday down the road, you're eventually going to walk away from the game of basketball. So when that day does come for yourself, what do you want to be remembered for what you achieved both on and off the court throughout your career?
I think just being a person who always gave it his all. And when I put on that Wyoming on my chest, it signifies how much I've been through, how much I'm willing to continue to go through, to try to be the best for not only the school, but the state, and just be known as that guy that gave it everything and worked his hardest every single day.
Absolutely, man. Well, my final thing for you, give fans in the entire country and whole your 3 biggest goals that you have set for the remainder of your Wyoming career.
Ooh, you want 3? One, probably continue to make sure we have a great season. I think a lot of that responsibility falls not only on my shoulders, but everyone on the team, because we have to go out there and be a team, have the chemistry to go out there and play the best we can. And I think I play a big part of that, being one of the longest guys here in terms of eligibility wise. So just making sure I keep everyone on the same page. Number 2, bring home wins against CSU, because obviously that rivalry means a lot to this state, in every sport. And so far we've done really well in every sport. So go out there and do what I can to make sure basketball holds up its part. And then 3, I think making an NCAA tournament experience or appearance would be up there on that list.
Absolutely. Well, I definitely appreciate you taking time to come on today. I can't wait to see what guy got next for you, and looking forward to see how the rest of the season goes for you guys.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. You're all welcome on, man. God bless.
You too.